in the semi-finals of the Asian Championships that year, a World Series of Boxing winner. He's qualified for Tokyo. He beat the #2 seed, Saidjamshid Musavi of Iran, in the semi-finals. And this should be a really entertaining fight between these two. It's hard to see this one not delivering.
Yeah, looking forward to this, Andy. I think it's fair to say they've both earned their stripes en route to this final, taking out seeds who were ahead of them in the pecking order. So really good one. Both relatively young men. You'd say Amankul on paper with a better resume. He's been in with some really good fighters. You mentioned Kizhniak, who back in 2017 was just on a right good roll. He was terrorising everybody at that time, so no disgrace there in losing that World Championship final in Hamburg. So he just, I think, the man in blue have the slightly better read here, but we'll see.
You look at the back there on Saidjamshid. Jafarov, he is solidly built. You get some real units at 75 kilos. I've always wondered how on earth Arlen Lopez managed to squeeze it all into 75 kilos. That was a really tight, good fight they had, Amankul and Lopez, in the World Championships in 2017. At that stage, the Cuban was world champion, Olympic champion, very much the man to beat. So that was a huge win for a very young Amankul at that point. He's still only 23.
And he's the elder statesman, just and only just. So this is two fighters who've already achieved plenty with decent records, but the future's pretty bright too.
Well, this is Amankul's 249th fight, which is amazing, really, when you consider the age of the year. So midway through round one, leading off with that right hand. He does like to do that, the fighter in blue. Just reaching in behind his left a little bit there, Jafarov. I mentioned Israel Madrimov as well. He was a real force in that middleweight division before he turned over pro. He did actually go to the Asian Championships in 2019, Madrimov, along with Jalalov, but he got knocked out at the quarter-final stage, and that kind of brought things to an end for him in an Uzbek vest. Nice 1-2 from Amankul. Got home down the middle.
Oh, the competition's so stiff. I mean, you know, Andy, if you win a national championship for Kazakhstan, you're one of the best in the world, make no mistake. And it's the same for Uzbekistan as well. And he only lost once in WSB as well, didn't he, Amankul? And that was to Arlen Lopez, who you mentioned before. Lopez, probably my favourite elite fighter of the last decade, I'd probably have to say. Terrific talent, the Cuban.
Closing stages of round one. Nicely timed left hand there from Amankul as Jafarov came forward just slightly clumsily. Just falling short with the 1-2 there. Jafarov, bell goes at the end of the first round. Amankul in blue of Kazakhstan makes his way back to the corner. Jafarov of Uzbekistan, he's in the red.
Just felt that the difference between them in that round was twofold, Andy. One, that Amankul seemed to be doing much of what he wanted to do, and Jalalov was maybe reactive. And the other thing was the defence. He was just getting out of range, Amankul. He was making Jalalov miss, and I thought those two things were just enough for him in that first round.
Loses his balance slightly as he comes forward every now and again. Jafarov kind of leans into it. Did get home with a couple, but Amankul, I think, has seen that, looking to try and just back off a little bit when he sees Jafarov come forward like that. So 1 round down, 75 kilos.
Interesting change in the play here at the start of this second round, with Amankul coming forward, looking to press the action. And this is quite an aggressive start to the round from him. He's doing it intelligently, though.
Nice left hand to the body there from Jafarov, who's just keeping this a little bit more on the outside. And then again, as he throws that left hand, that is a technical flaw that he does have. He comes over the top of that front foot, loses that balance as he throws that left, but if he follows it in onto the shoulder, then it kind of minimises the damage. Set his feet nicely there and threw a left to the body, then a left up top. Again, the physicality of him is pretty extraordinary, Jafarov, isn't it? Look at those shoulders.
Yeah, and the arms as well. Very, very long arms. You feel these are assets to him, and he's still quite young as well. I don't think Andy's implying that, you know, light heavyweight probably beckons sooner rather than later for the man in red. He's maybe just quelled Amankul through the first minute and a half here. I was really interested by the way Amankul came out, thrown the right hand to the body, slightly under the high guard as well, pressing the action. He's not been as effective as I thought he might be.
No, he's looking for a way in, isn't he? But he hasn't really found one just yet. And whilst he's been looking, Jafarov has been doing some fairly effective punching. Decent left hand there from him again. But there's a nice 1-2 there from Amankul, and the referee steps in with a standing count there, and he doesn't like that too much, Jafarov. But as I reminded you earlier on, if you have a standing count given against you, that will not necessarily result in you losing the round 10-8. Not at all. It's all about interpreting dominance for the 5 ringside judges, and they will make up their own mind as to whether they feel that standing count was really necessary from the referee. But he saw a good solid punch land and was very, very swift to intervene.
Yeah, you wonder about that, don't you? Whether the judges will trust the referee. I suppose the one thing I should have mentioned as well is how effective, when he came out at the start of the round, Amankul, how effective, when he was pressing the action, how effective actually was he orthodox compared to when he's in the southpaw stance. That's another thing we'll bear in mind. You see, he's switched back. He seems to be having more success southpaw to my eye. And there he goes once again, landing another shot.
I would agree with that. I think he's definitely been more effective as a southpaw. And it's an interesting round, this one. As I said, the standing count there issued by the referee, but the way that Aiba boxing is scored, that's not necessarily a crippling blow for Jafarov, who I thought through the first 2 minutes of that round did the better work. Amankul came back into it more in that final minute. There's not much in that one.
Yes, and was it a case of Jafarov through those first couple of minutes was kind of stealing punches, stealing points, and then the last minute was really effective, heavier shot pressure from Amankul? I suppose you balance off the two conversations there. I wonder if maybe Amankul will abandon the high guard orthodox approach, because there's no doubt at all he's much more effective, or looked seemingly effective through the first and second rounds when actually he was in southpaw. And there's the mouth guard going. That was a huge 1-2. He landed another left hand, and I suppose when you see the slow motion shots there, you can understand why the referee might have moved in. He's so close to the action, and it also underlines how heavy some of those shots that were being landed. Fewer shots but heavier shots from Amankul.
Yeah, it was a really good bit of work from Amankul. The gum shield came out, and the referee steps in with the standing count. I didn't make him wrong to do it. He made the decision nice and quick too. Just digging his toes in and looking to lead off with the right uppercut there. Jafarov, who has done some decent work in that second round, is doing some decent work at the start of this round as well. The kind of dynamic of the fight is that Amankul's the boss when you look at it. He's the one who seems to be dictating terms, but it's about who lands what. And that balancing act in the second round wouldn't have been all that easy for the judges, because his work in that final minute, as you said, it was more authoritative, wasn't it? He put more of a stamp on things, whereas Jafarov was more of a kind of heavy-handed cat burglar. He's in, throws a couple, gets back out again, and it's a similar kind of rhythm and theme to this third round so far. Nice left hand on the inside there from Jafarov. This has been a good fight, and I think we're going to have a very entertaining finish here too.
Indeed. He's picking some shots nicely. There's too much aggression from Amankul in this round, and that was rather uncalled for. That was a wrestling move from Jafarov. I'm pretty sure he picked him up by the feet there, and he had to dip down to do it. I'm not quite sure what all of that was about, but there's been a bullying style about the way that Amankul has gone about this, and that's at the expense of his boxing on occasion. I think too much so. I'm enjoying his attitude, and it really is getting slightly out of hand here, Andy, in spells. There, Amankul just using a little bit of the head in that close-up exchange. I think they're annoying and irking each other. This really is a fight.
Well, I make you absolutely right there. Jafarov just kind of dipped his knees, almost scooped Amankul up behind the knees there and dumped him on his back. The referee, I think, was blindsided a bit, didn't really see it into the final minute. And again, we've got a very similar third round to the second round. The fighter throwing more and landing a decent amount is Jafarov, and Amankul looking to be more aggressive into this final minute towards the end of the round. But he's taken some risks here, Amankul, I think, by just not letting his hands go enough. That's a good jab followed by a left hand there. They both need to try and find a strong finish here.
Landed 3 big punches there, Amankul, in that exchange. It is the same story, as you say, as the previous round. Not quite as effective, Amankul, as he had done in the previous round, but he's landed some telling shots right at the end of it. That was fiercely competitive.
It was a great third and final round, that, as those two looked to really get stuck into each other. And as you said, there was a bit of fun and games in there as well, with Jafarov dumping Amankul on his back, and then Amankul just coming in with a header touch as well. There's no great celebrations from either corner, and I do make this one an interesting one to score, because Amankul, for me, could have done more. If he doesn't get this, I think he will absolutely kick himself. He will know that he could have let his hands go more.
The winner by split decision in the red corner, representing Uzbekistan.
And Jafarov gets it for Uzbekistan via split decision, and for all the reasons we've been outlining, it was difficult to score.